Welcome to Season 3 of the Twendé podcast. Twendé, meaning let's go in Kiswahili, is an accelerator focused on equipping Tennessee-based Black and Brown founders with the resources needed to grow and scale their businesses. I'm M. Wilder, Twendé Program Manager here at the Nashville Entrepreneur Center, and your host of the Twendé podcast. We're grateful for support from the David and Rebecca Clements family with additional funding from the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee. Thank you for believing in our mission. For past seasons and our latest episodes, visit ec.co/Twendé podcast. Let's go. What's up, everybody? Today, we're here with Rashad Russell. Rashad, welcome to the Twendé podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So let's jump in. Rashad, lovely human being, software engineer, web developer, founder of Acme Builder, and Beyond Light Creations. One thing that I like to start things off with our guests is just to get a little bit personal. So when you think about your business, when you think about your story, can you talk to us a little bit about kind of who are your starting five? So who are the five people or groups of folks who really keep you progressing in life and business?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mainly, five is tough.
It can be less, but let's start there.
I'll start five. Definitely my brother. He jumped to the entrepreneur game roughly around 2020, roughly around the same time as I have. My dad, he just started his trucking business, so he all three of us are trying to go together. And then my college roommate, Mike, out from Chicago, he lives in Dallas now. We both went to college together, majored in the same thing, both in tech, and both trying to grow tech businesses. So those are the main three. The rest, I get it from places like the Entrepreneur Center here. So many entrepreneurs, I mainly around a lot of tech people, a lot of engineers, but in business, you need way more than that. You need sales, marketing, etc. So I got that from the Entrepreneur Center, just from the people I meet.
Beautiful. So, in continuing with and thinking about your journey, people you surround yourself with, read a piece from the Nashville Voyager just on your journey. Kind of walk us through the pivotal moments, right? Young kid, born in New Orleans, to now founding two separate companies, consultant. Talk us about what that path looked like. What are some of the pivotal moments, events, decision-making points that kind of brought a kid from New Orleans to where you are today?
Yeah. I mean, it's been a crazy ride. I guess I always start my entrepreneur journey starting at 12 years old, starting at middle school. I was still in New Orleans. And of course, around that time, 2005, Hurricane Katrina happened. That's what pushed our family through a chain of events, eventually landed in Nashville as our destination city. That event woke me up after losing, your home, literally the entire neighborhood and city. It made me realize how easy everything could be taken away from you. Your life gets put upside down. And this one particular moment, I remember we was in a shelter in Shreveport, Louisiana. Didn't know what tomorrow would bring. We didn't know where we were or where we were going. And I asked my dad one question. I asked him, Dad, are we technically homeless? He was like, yeah, I think so. And I was like, wow. And I was like, you know what? When I get older, I want to make sure something like this never happens again to my family, or at least, you can't stop emergencies, but when they do happen, at least we'd be well prepared for it ahead of time. We're not caught off guard. And so I made that, from that day, I literally had a mission to discover what do I want to be when I grow up? What would allow me to accomplish that goal of having my family well prepared where we're not put in uncomfortable positions. And so it wasn't until, about 4 years later, when I was 14, when I was a sophomore, obviously I was big into video games like any kid. and I discovered, what entrepreneurship was. I had dreams of making my own video games. So I began to research, how do you make video games? How do you start a video game company? And my dad, I remember I told my parents, I want to start a video game company. I got my own ideas. He said, okay, you should be a CEO. I said, okay, well, let me look that up. So what's a CEO? Then that rabbit hole took me down words like entrepreneurship and business owner. And obviously, how do you make video games? You're going to come across programming and coding. So I said, I need to learn how to code. I started reading a lot about teenage entrepreneurs at the time. There's plenty of articles about young entrepreneurs, 14, 15, 16 years old. I say, okay, they know how to code. They're making websites and MySpace pages. Let me learn how to make a website and MySpace page. And at that time, Silicon Valley was all over the news. All these 18, 19, 20-year-old kids starting $1 million, $1 billion companies. Facebook was started like 3 years prior. Instagram, YouTube barely was out at the time. And I like, okay, I need to learn how to code, learn how to make websites. And a teacher of mine, I got involved in business programs like DECA and FBLA. That's how I kind of went down a rabbit hole on the business side. But my FBLA teacher, she also was a web design teacher, and she gave me a book, a web design for teens book, back in 2009 is when I started reading that book over the summertime, and that's when I started to code. From there, like, I stopped playing video games. I got my TV out of my room, and I was just locked in strictly on learning how to code, learning Photoshop, learning how to build and design websites, and up until the point where I went to college 2 years later when I graduated from high school. I went to University of Illinois as a computer science student. And then, sophomore year at Illinois, I got my first internship at Yahoo in Silicon Valley. So I finally touched down in the mecca of tech. And the rest is history. Those the biggest pivotal moments in my career and how I became a professional software engineer and landed to where I'm at now. So, yeah.
It's incredible. And thank you for sharing that. So like the amount of just self-discipline, pulling from resources around you, obviously it sounds like school and some educators played a big role, but you yourself really, you were kind of the main character, right? In terms of really setting your mind to it. I mean, you talk about moving a TV out of your room, getting disciplined, putting your head down. Like how old were you at that time?
I was 14.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah. I was determined. I wanted to be great at something. I remember that was ringing a bell in my head. Like, I want to be great at something. Some family members around me, my brother, they always seemed like they had their niche. Like, my brother loved animals. We call him Dr. Doolittle. He's the family. Steve Irwin. I got cousins who know how to sing, cousins who know how to dance. And I'm like, I don't have a thing. I just play video games. So I was good in school, but I didn't count that. Like, okay, I'm good at school, but I didn't know how to apply it to anything in real life. So I said, when I'm older, I want to do something different. I want to be different. I want to, like I said, I still had that goal always in my head, back during Katrina, what can I do to be different when I'm older? And I was locked in. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but every decision that I made, every activity that I involved myself in, from there through college, post-college, all centered around that goal. Even to this day, like that's like the battery in my back. So
I love it. Truly locked in.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about Acme Builder. Let's talk a little bit about your work. So what would you say is kind of the mission, your current mission with regard to specifically supporting small business owners here in Nashville with web builds, with establishing some sort of digital footprint when they're early in their business? Can you just talk us through kind of what inspires your work? Like, what is the mission of Acme Builder? What is your personal mission with regard to serving founders?
Right. So Acme Builder, it's a online website building tool. So similar to WordPress, Squarespace, Wix, those type of platforms. You go on, drag and drop, pick a layout, and hit the publish button and have your website live on the internet. And it's a platform that I built from scratch all 2023. I was locked in on that. So just now getting it up this year. And the goal, which I was doing, I'm starting to target small business owners. I was trying to figure out who would best benefit in these early stages. And that's why I started networking a lot and going around town, sort of asking questions to different demographics to see who responds to an offer. I was offering a free 1-page website for anyone who would want one, and the small business owners, the one who just starting off, responded faster. At first, I started building a platform for more engineers, more developers. I taglined it the website builder for freelancers, and more freelancers, they want more established platforms, which I'm growing to. I'm not there yet, but the first time entrepreneur or the non-technical entrepreneur who just started their LLC, maybe not have a strong budget, or in a lot of cases, no one just knows a web designer
Right.
on hand, readily available. So I'm like, okay, that's a market I can target. That's a niche I can target, and that's why I'm in these early stages, maybe this first year, focus on small business owners and offering. I'm a web designer, a professional web designer. I'll create designs and set up your website, no problem. So and that's what the tool is. And the main thing is to have professional design themes for me to design. And when I hand it over, the platform should be as easy as updating your social media page. Because I talked to a lot of business owners, and they use the other platforms and they're confused. They don't know what to do. And so I'm trying to make that process of having your digital footprint as easy as possible. so that's what I'm looking forward to.
I love it. So you've clearly had kind of a thoughtful and thorough approach to identifying kind of who makes up the market that you're trying to serve. When during that process, or as you kind of found your niche, what are some of the mistakes or what's a more positive framing? What are some of the probably most common areas of growth or missteps that you see small business owners make when they maybe try to take on that web build on their own? Or you mentioned confused by other platforms. Well, it looks like it, right? In terms of that's reflected back when they build out their first site. What are some of those mistakes, and what would you say, like how is, I mean, you mentioned ease, user-friendly. What are some of those mistakes you see founders make when they try to take it on maybe on their own? And then how do you address some of those things?
Right. The biggest thing it's not only what misconceptions founders may have with setting up their website, how to do it properly. It goes to the same purpose on similar mistakes I see early stage founders, new entrepreneurs make on social media as well. At the end of the day, who do you want to see you online? Who do you want to discover you? And what do you want them to do? When someone first discovers your business, they should almost immediately know what do you do? What do you have to offer? And who do you serve? And it's the biggest mistake is around content. When someone set up their website, what content should I have on my platform? What imagery should I have on my website? And if you're selling baked goods, cookies, then you should have pictures of cookies and what makes your cookies great, what makes them different, maybe some flavors. It's not just random images of yourself. Similar what people do on social media. I hear business coaches talk about this all the time when they're taking on new clients. When they first take you on as a client, as a coach, as a business coach, they look at your social media, but it's you in the rain, it's you going to football games, but it's nothing about what your business is, who you are. So why should I buy from you? Why should I reach out and inquire more about your business? You're not giving me enough on what it is, or the content on your website is not guiding the reader. When people visit your site, they're not going to stay on for too long. So it's immediately, I see your headline, I build websites for small business owners. That's very clear. If you're interested, click this button. So it's immediate call to action. We want to put that at the top of the website. That's the first thing all visitors see. If they're interested, then they'll let them scroll and discover more. But that is really the messaging that you have to get right. Who you are, what do you offer, and who do you offer it to? And then an immediate call to action is that's the biggest thing a lot of people's websites are missing. So
Got it. Got it. Thank you. And so you mentioned call to action, you mentioned just how folks will interact with Acme Builder. Can you talk and share a little bit with listeners, in particular founders? How do they get, what does the experience look like? What is kind of the onboarding would look like in terms of you taking on a potential founder as a client? So obviously Acme Builder, you've worked, you said all of 2023 to develop the platform. What is the user experience, and how do Twendé founders or other founders in general kind of get plugged into your services? And a follow-up of just when do I call you?
Right, we're still improving the platform. I've already launched a website, designed another site. So right now I'm you're going to be talking directly to me. So I'm your customer support and your web designer. So by the time, we work together with Twendé and other small business owners, the experience is going to be simple. I'll send you an invitation. You'll get an email invitation. As soon as you log in, you click a theme that you like, and you tell me what your domain name is that you want people to visit when they visit your site, and that's really it. I'll have the themes designed already, and you just need to update the content because you know more about your business than I do. You know about your products and services and the description you want people to know. So you just have a form to update the content. You hit save and it's live, and that's really it. Keeping it really simple. The biggest pain point I see with other platforms is, they a lot of times they want the non-technical founder or non-designer to start designing, and that's when people don't know what to do. And so the designs, the themes are already designed by me, and one theme is for professional businesses. Another theme is for more personal branding. If you're more like a motivational speaker or an author or a musician, I'll have a theme for that use case, and of course I'll be making more themes, more aesthetic, to capture different use cases. And you just pick one which resonates with you most. And at that point, you just type in your content like you did on Facebook. You don't have to worry about designing your Facebook page beyond just a cover photo, and it just works. And that's essentially the experience. Is just type the content and hit the save button.
So Rashad, you describe being locked in, coding, very self-disciplined at a very young age. That was not me at 14. I wish I would have had your number, or maybe one of my parents had your number, to talk me through some things. In thinking about your path as a Black man, navigating the tech space, becoming, pursuing a career in software engineering. Can you just talk a little bit about, you described your kind of launching point into thinking about this career, right? And being confronted with all of the things, emotions, and very real situation that, with regards to Hurricane Katrina, and how that uprooted your family and turned things upside down. So obviously you've faced hardship, but can you describe any particular obstacles or any barriers you felt like you faced as you navigated as a Black man in an industry that maybe traditionally hasn't been the most supportive space for, provided the most support for Black folks to navigate, just in regard to being a Black man in tech?
All right. Really, I was fortunate those first early years throughout high school. I had a lot of support, actually. My teachers, of course, my parents. Parents didn't really know what I was doing.
But they were supportive.
They were just supportive.
I love it.
They don't know. My grandma said, I don't know what a Yahoo is. You're going to work there, but as long as it's legal, I will support you. And my parents were, of course, supportive. And my teachers, they the ones who pushed me in business and on the tech side. I definitely noticed there's not a lot of Black people in tech, of course, throughout college and further into my career. that wasn't, I wouldn't call that a barrier as far as for me. Like no one made me feel uncomfortable. Like I say, I've been was fortunate enough to be around great people. Uh, I guess the biggest thing, the biggest obstacle really was going through computer science as far as it was just a rigorous career. It was just a rigorous major to go through. And I would say, not on myself on a micro level, but as a macro level, at the macro level, at that time, there wasn't a lot of high schools with tech programs, computer science programs to prepare us for a university like University of Illinois, which was like top 5 engineering. I think only Stanford, MIT, and 2 others are ahead. And so you go into a heavy engineering presence, and coming from my high school, which was more semi-rural, or not at the top academically at the high school level, even though I did great in GPA and things of that nature. There's levels. There's levels, as we all know, in any profession. And so jumping to a big university like that was challenging from that aspect. And I would say, as far as diversity in tech, it's not there, and it's not just tech. It's just the entire STEM. It's not just software engineering or Silicon Valley. It's mechanical engineering, civil engineering, biotech. Those spaces are just not prominent in the Black community. Growing up, I've been told to be a doctor, a lawyer, or something else, but no one knew a software engineer. No one knows what that is. So when I got to Illinois, a lot of the other students, I noticed their dad was a software engineer. Their dad was an electrical engineer. Both their parents worked in tech. And these are all my roommates and other dorm mates. Their parents were alumni of Illinois and did computer science and worked at Xerox in Silicon Valley. So, there's a lot of privilege around, I guess, wealth. And then again, it's at those higher end schools. I met students at Stanford and Harvard, those type of schools. Those kids come from money. So, and it doesn't start at the college. It start at high school. It start at middle school. And as far as Black people in tech, I think the diversity where it needs to be improved is not at the corporate level or in college. It really starts at a young age. Most of the people that I did work around, just everyone in general, a common theme is they were natural nerds. They were naturally interested in stuff at early age. They were just tinkerers. They were just tinkering, and that influences what you decide to major in. I was interested in tech before college. So when I was in high school, all the computer classes, it was like 2 or 3 Black kids out of 30, 30 per class out of 8 classes. So do the math on that.
Mm-hmm.
It just wasn't there. It's just not something we talked about. None of my friends really knew what I was talking about. So I was on an island. And I had 2 other guys that I knew in high school who were interested in tech. And so so when you look at the corporate world, when you look at diversity in the corporate world, I just tell people, just look at the high school, look at the children. That'll tell you the diversity, growing up. As far as career choices, people, like I said, those white collar jobs, it's doctor or lawyer or maybe accountant, things of that nature. So most of those kids are gonna go in business and medical type career paths or journalism. But and the same thing with athletics. A lot of my friends, some were big into sports and went to college on sports scholarships. So that's where it all starts. It's just, and it's just about exposure. It's not that there is a lack of interest. Like I said, all teenagers play video games. All teenagers are on their iPhones and doing whatever. And when I went back to the high school and spoke to my high school and several others, I had kids coming to me after I spoke, like, "Whoa, we never seen anyone like you." I even wrote a letter of recommendation for one kid. He got into Illinois. I helped another kid. At least I searched for scholarships for him and encouraged him. And he ended up going to Howard University and majored in computer science. Another kid, he already graduated high school, but his mom reached out to me. He didn't know what he wanted to do with his life. I got on the phone with him. You know, he was a 33 ACT student, brilliant kid, but he just lacked motivation and he was not doing well in school just because he just lacked the motivation, but he loved video games. And she said, Rashad, I don't know how to get through this kid. I can't relate. Can you talk to him? I said, I know exactly what to tell him. And literally within 3 months, he went to a software school here in town, graduated. Now he's a software engineer professionally. He's only like 21 years old, barely. And it's just that simple. It's just talk to the youth, talk to the kids. I think that will solve a lot of diversity issues. It's just people not catching them early enough. And I tell a lot of professionals that I meet, you know, I've been back to the schools and talk. I love talking to young kids because I knew what type of guidance I wanted when I was at that age. And I said, we just need to just talk more to the kids. And it's that simple. They'll when they see you, they see a concrete path to get to where they want to go. Right now, it's just a fog for them. So we as adults can make that path a lot clearer. And I think that solve diversity tremendously.
Got you. And so going back to and thinking about 2023 and all the thoughtful research that you did in terms of just building out the platform, the different iterations, the continuous improvement, what are your goals for 2024? And beyond. Kind of where do you see things going? I know you've been working on some community partnerships, potential sponsorship opportunities. Yeah, what's kind of the vision for getting Acme Builder really out into the market?
Right. So 2024 is simply put, just make an awesome product for the small business owner. Try to actually achieve that vision of this is simple, even for non-technical individuals who want to create their website. So make it as easy as possible, as much as automated as possible. And from there, I'll be able to focus on more growth, focus more on partnerships. So I'm still in the developing phases. This is a big month. These next 2 weeks, I got something pretty amazing rolling out that'll make that a lot easier, definitely on my part. And I always say my goal from an individual perspective is I want to get to the point where I dial back my development. I'm focused on 80% marketing and 20% development because it's gotten to such a mature point where, okay, I could bring in users and they're happy with the product. And my brother tell me, Rashad, if you can get it to the point where I can use it, then we're in good company. And I said, okay, I got you. That's what I'm doing. So that's really the biggest goal, is to make it as simple as possible for anyone to use and continue to grow those partnerships with Twendé and other organizations around town and possibly even outside the city as well.
Let's go. So last question, and just thinking about just messaging to that founder who's just starting off. What I guess advice from your perspective would you give the founder who's just starting off, who's maybe like, I don't know, I'm gonna utilize social media, I don't think I need a website. What's your messaging to that young founder, or specifically a founder who's young in their business, who maybe is putting this off or tries to build something from scratch, who, in your words, maybe not, I'll use myself for example, I would probably be a non-technical founder going down that road of entrepreneurship. What's your advice to that person?
Right. So your .com, that's your home. It's not necessarily social media. Social media is rented space. You own your domain name. You know, we've seen over the years with social media companies, they can go up, they can go down, they can kick you out the platform, they can repurpose itself. But when you have a website, you own that. That's your proprietary, that's your IP. And as your company matures, you can use it for so many things. It could be a source of revenue for you. It's a branding opportunity. When you talk about brand building, there's never it's never too early to start working on your brand. So when you have your .com, it looks professional, and definitely you definitely need to know your industry. If you're in the professional services space, when you tell people go to my .com, okay, everyone can visit, but everyone doesn't have a Facebook page. Everyone, especially the younger crowd, everyone doesn't have an Instagram.
Facebook is out.
Yeah, everyone doesn't have a TikTok. You see what's happening with that in the courts. May or may not be here. So everyone doesn't have these different social media platforms to even see your presence. But everyone has the internet. Anyone could go to your .com. And two, you're building up that digital footprint. So when someone Googles M. Wilder or Rashad Russell, you want to take up as much space on Google as possible. So when someone clicks, okay, this looks legit. So if you're trying to work on a brand partnership deal with some other organizations, they're going to research you to make sure nothing crazy is online about you. So you want to dominate as much as the Google search results as you can, so they see the messaging that you want to put out. And that's done by of course creating that website, and even if it's just, like I said, just a landing page, that's at least one spot. The social media pages can take up the other. So, and plus when you create business cards and hand out flyers and have banners, or you get interviewed on, you want people to showcase your domain name, that means a lot. And I've seen, especially if you're a new brand, if you're selling something, people will make a decision. Like, if I type your name in on Google, I don't see you pop up, I'm not going to buy from you. I might go to someone else who does have a website. People, a lot of times what I learned in business as an early entrepreneur is a lot of times people buy, your consumers purchase and buy based on trust, not necessarily whether you're the best or not. It's you have to build my confidence before I spend $100 with you or even $1,000 with you. It doesn't have to be a lot. It just has to be something and it looks nice. And that's what I tell people. It's never too early. In fact, the earlier the better.
It's never too early. Yes, that part. Well, Rashad, it's been an incredible conversation. I'm very excited about the next few announcements that you may have coming up and opportunities, things that you're rolling out. Excited to stay tapped into all that you're doing, and to continue to work together. Can you leave folks with just listeners, our friends across the state and region of Twendé? Where can people get connected with you? What's the best way in terms of getting introduced to you and your services?
Right. Well, like I said, I'm offering a free one-page website to anyone who wants it. You can, if you're interested, of course, you can visit my website, beyondlightcreations.com. That's my consultancy. Visit beyondlightcreations.com/free-website. It's beyondlightcreations.com, free-website, and you'll see a form where you can submit the inquiry form. I'll get an email, and I can start building your site. But, of course, I'm on social media platforms, linkedin.com. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. On most platforms, it's just I am Rashad Russell. So facebook.com/I am Rashad Russell, Instagram.com/I am Rashad Russell. And, of course, linkedin.com, you just type in my name. And, you can find me on any of those platforms. And, like you said, just go to beyondlightcreations.com, and you can fill out my contact form, and I'll get an email.
Beautiful, Rashad. Well, it's great talking with you. Excited to continue our conversation. And, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening. And thanks to the David and Rebecca Clemens family, along with funding support from Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee, for making this podcast possible. From the Chase Studio at the Nashville Entrepreneur Center, I'm M. Wilder, inviting you to engage with our Twendé Accelerator program by visiting ec.co/Twendé.